Today I'll show you how to find hidden cameras with your phone in Airbnbs using 7 techniques that I've used to find actual cameras. Plus a few internet tips that you may have heard that are actually completely useless. 1 in 20 Americans renting vacation homes have actually found hidden cameras, so this is not paranoia. We're going to start with the easiest and most obvious technique called the Glint Sweep, where you're basically going to use your phone's flashlight in a certain way to look for the reflection in the hidden camera's glass. I'll show you exactly what it looks like on 3 different hidden cameras. So here's hidden camera number 1 in this alarm clock, and this technique works better in the dark, but honestly, it also works for me in the light too, but I just want to show you what it looks like in the dark. The trick is you want to make your flashlight beam as strong and direct as possible. So let's test it out here. Then you want to get close, shine the light at eye level, and slowly pan across the area of whatever you think is a suspicious device. Here's what it looks like in a USB camera that's pointed directly at the shower. And this is with the lights on, so you can even see it with the lights on. You don't necessarily need the lights off. And here's what it looks like in a hidden camera pen, which you can see this one even without a light kind of, so that one's not super hidden. The problem with this method is you need to be super close to it and directly in front of it. So if the camera is up high or out of reach, then you have to use one of the other methods I'm about to show you. Next is the infrared scan trick using just your phone. And this can work on some cameras that have infrared LED lights that are used for night vision. Our naked eyes can't see this light, but it's right next to the color red on the color spectrum. Infrared can be picked up by hidden cameras though, which is what it uses to light up the scene so it can basically see in the dark. Fortunately, there's a pretty easy way to detect these infrared lights using just your phone. Your phone's camera is designed to block out infrared light so that it doesn't jack up your cameras, but this doesn't work perfectly and some infrared light does get through. It'll usually show up as a white or purple glow on your screen. So before you go searching for hidden cameras, first just do a simple test with your TV remote to see if it's working so you don't go on a wild goose chase. So I'm using the selfie camera here, and let's see if you can see what it looks like here on the test. Can you see the light? Yeah, you can see it light up. And it even works on the camera I'm recording this video with. I'm pointing it at the camera right now, and you can see that's the infrared light. If you do this test and it doesn't work, then try flipping your camera around and using the back camera to see if that one works instead. After you confirmed that it works on your phone, you have to remember 2 important things when looking for the camera. The first is that this is only going to work for cameras that actually have night vision mode, because there are cameras that don't have night vision mode, and so it's not going to show infrared lights. Second is that the night vision mode actually has to be activated, and a lot of these have auto night vision activation that happens when you turn off the lights. And so if the lights are on, it's not going to be activated and you're not going to be able to find it. You have to turn the lights off. If you put your shoes in the creep and think about it, these types of night vision cameras are more likely to be in a bedroom where sensitive stuff is going to happen with the lights off, versus maybe in the shower or bathroom or something. You're less likely to have a night vision camera there because people don't take showers with the lights off, at least I don't usually. So just to give you an example here, what the infrared lights look on this night version camera. And by the way, I lied to you just a second ago. Now that I'm testing this again, it is only showing up actually on the selfie camera. And if I flip it over to the back camera, I'm not seeing the infrared lights. Again, if the hidden camera does not have night vision, or the owner for some reason deactivated the night vision mode, then you won't be able to detect it using this method, and you'll have to use one of the other strategies. But before we get into those, there's one other clever way that you can detect night vision cameras with your phone. Many hidden cameras with night vision use a mechanical mechanism that makes an audible click when you're switching from day mode to night mode. And you can use your phone to detect the sound. Just turn the lights on, then take your phone and set it next to any device that you suspect might have a camera on it. Open the voice memo and start the voice memo, and then go to the light switch and slowly turn it off and on, waiting a couple seconds between each time. So wait a couple seconds. Now you can go back on your phone and look at the waveform, or just listen to it to see if you can hear that mechanical switch going on and off. When you do this, make sure that you're not flipping on and off the lights too fast because it can take a couple seconds for the hidden camera to recognize that the light has changed. This technique may or may not work depending on the actual camera as well as the noise that's in your environment. For example, right now we are right next to the beach and you can literally hear the waves right now, so I think that's making the waveforms a little bit harder because it's picking up the sound of the waves in the background. That said, if I turn the lights off and I put this camera directly up to my ear and listen to it, I can very faintly hear a little clickety-click sound, and it's not just one time either, it just keeps clicking. You literally have to push it into your eardrums though, because it's super, super faint. It's like, and to do this, obviously you might need 2 people because you need one person to turn off the lights while you're listening to see if you can hear a difference. If you've learned something so far in this video, tap the like button and subscribe if you want more videos on how to travel safer and smarter. Okay, so next I want to talk about some apps on your phone that you can use to detect hidden cameras and why most of the apps that are named things like hidden camera detectors are actually a waste of money. But first, I want to admit a mistake that I made in a previous hidden camera video that I made. In that video, I said that on iPhone, you can get the airport utility app and go into your settings, go down to apps, then click on the airport utility app, then turn on the Wi-Fi scanner at the very bottom, go to the airport utility app itself, and then hit Wi-Fi scan to check to see if you see any weird devices that pop up on the networks. But it turns out after I bought a bunch of hidden cameras and tested this, I realized that this doesn't work in real life, although it may be helpful for certain travelers. Some cameras might show up on this list when it's initially being set up, but not if it's already set up and running and you're just trying to find it. Fortunately, after testing a bunch of different apps, I found some other ones that work better instead. But as a side note, this app can be useful if you're traveling and there's overlapping Wi-Fi networks and you're trying to figure out which one has the strongest signal if you need to do a video call or something, because you can see what's called the RSSI number, which is a negative number, and the closer that number is to 0, the stronger the connection will be. Just a fun fact for you. Okay, so now let's look at some apps that can actually detect hidden devices. There's actually a ton of them that I tested. Some are better than others, but some of the most popular ones are called Fing, Net Analyzer, and Wi-Fi Analyzer. These apps send out small pings, and when a device in the area responds to those pings, it records it in a list. These tools can gather detailed information about connected devices on the network, including the manufacturer and model number for some of the devices. The apps with names like Hidden Camera Detector do basically the same thing, except they usually charge you or have a bunch of annoying ads, so you can just use Fing's free plan and that works fine. Here's what it looks like on iPhone. I don't know if you can see that. And you might be thinking, yeah, cool, Mitch, I don't see anything interesting here. And to that, I would say you are right. Unfortunately, on some of the latest Apple updates, they're now blocking some of this information for privacy reasons, but it should still work on Android, according to the internet. So if you have an Android, please test this out and let me know down in the comments. But the workaround, if you have an iPhone, is that this does work if you run it on your computer or laptop. Look at the different results I get if I run this same scan on the computer. You can see there's 2 here that say generic, but it says under details something called Auto Beam. And I don't know what Auto Beam is, and so I Googled it and a Reddit thread popped up with people talking about Auto Beam, and it turns out everyone concluded that this was a camera. If you run a scan and it doesn't tell you the brand name for something, you can also use this MAC address that should show up on your computer or an Android, and then plug that, copy and paste that address into macvendors.com and it should pop up with the brand name. For example, I just popped it in here and you could see it showed up with Auto Beam. And for some reason, if something shows up on this list and you can't figure out what it is and you think it's suspicious, then you could also just unplug whatever that device is and then rescan and see if it disappears from the list. Now, this is all super cool and all and kind of makes you feel like a little bit like a secret spy, But after doing all these tests, I found that there are a couple of pitfalls that you should know about. First, you need to make sure that the device that you're running the scan with is using the same band as the hidden camera. For example, when you look at your Wi-Fi list when you check into an Airbnb, sometimes you'll see the 2.4 gigahertz version of the Wi-Fi and the 5 gigahertz version. So you should run the scan on both of them, because if the hidden camera is on the opposite of the one that you're connected to, it's not going to show up. Second, I realized that there's actually an isolation setting on some routers for the internet, and if this setting is turned on, then it won't allow you to see the other devices that are connected to the network. This isolation setting is commonly used in hotels, but it's usually not used in Airbnbs and homes unless the owner intentionally turns it on for privacy reasons. If you run the scan using these apps and you see that only your phone and the router pop up on the list, and you know that there's other devices connected to the Wi-Fi, then this setting might be turned on. Speaking of Wi-Fi, I never use hotel Wi-Fi, Airbnb Wi-Fi, or any public Wi-Fi to do sensitive tasks without first turning on my VPN. Even if there's no hidden cameras, unsecure Wi-Fi is still a huge privacy risk. Think of all the people who've had the Wi-Fi password to your Airbnb and have had easy access to the router. And at hotels, hackers can create fake Wi-Fi networks that look identical to the hotel's Wi-Fi. So if your phone connects to it, your email logins, banking info, and other sensitive data could be at risk. But with one click, you can turn on a VPN that essentially hides your data from prying eyes. I currently use NordVPN because of their super fast connection speeds, and they were kind enough to sponsor this video. I like how NordVPN takes security a step further than most other VPN companies with their Threat Protection Pro feature that checks the links you click to protect you from those fake copycat phishing websites designed to steal your passwords, or even plant malware and viruses on your devices. To make sure you're not exposed online, sign up using my special discount link in the description for an extra 4 months free of NordVPN. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Next up is the MagSweep test with your phone, which works on the principle of electromagnetism. All modern smartphones have what's called a magnetometer, but this measures the strength and direction of magnetic fields in the area, and it's what's used to make your compass app work. And hidden cameras, like all electronic devices, have parts in them that give off these tiny electromagnetic fields when they're turned on. So if you use an EMF detector app and you move it close to a hidden camera that's turned on, then this meter should spike in theory. The process is pretty self-explanatory. You just open up an app and then point it towards anything that you think might be a camera. And I found that you need to do it at this bottom part. It's the most sensitive, and you need to be very close to it. So here's just a normal pen, and let's test it out. You can see it's not really detecting anything. But here we have our hidden camera pen, and let's test it out again. Oh, look at what we got there. It came up. A big downside to this method is that it's going to spike with any electronic device, not just hidden cameras. You can see here's my laptop. Oh, let me open it up. Here's my laptop, bam, huge spike up in this top right corner. And that means that you can't really differentiate between a normal electronic device and an electronic device that has a hidden camera hidden inside of it. Honestly, the only time that I would realistically use this method is if there was a non-electronic device that I was super suspicious about, that for some reason I couldn't do a good visual inspection on, because this app honestly can be kind of finicky. By the way, if you want a quick checklist that you can use to scan for hidden cameras whenever you check into an Airbnb or hotel, I made a free step-by-step cheat sheet, and you can grab that for free down in the description. Next up is the Magnifier Method. You can use the Magnifier app on your phone, or if you don't have a Magnifier app, you can just use your phone's camera and then zoom in as far as possible. If you see any vents or smoke alarms or things, ceiling fans or picture frames or things that are out of reach, that are too far away to inspect close up visually, you can use the zoom on your phone. For example, let's say we're looking at this camera, you can zoom way in to do your visual inspection. And you can also pair this, if you have a separate strong flashlight and turn the lights off, you can use both of them and try to inspect things from further away. By the way, there's some pretty cool travel flashlights these days that are literally like smaller than the size of a tube of chapstick, and they're not a bad idea to travel with. These also come in super handy if the power ever goes out when you're traveling, which happens a lot in certain countries. Honestly, this isn't the most effective strategy for finding Airbnb hidden cameras, but if the Airbnb has super high ceilings or something and you're suspicious, you can use this as a last resort. But what if there's a spy camera hidden in your Airbnb behind a two-way mirror? This is a dirty trick that creeps can use, but luckily there's some pretty easy ways to find them. First of all, I'm not saying that you should be paranoid and do this to every single mirror that you see in every Airbnb. But if there's a weird mirror that's pointing directly at the bed or something, then it wouldn't hurt. The first technique to check for two-way mirrors is the fingernail test. There's a bunch of different types of two-way mirrors, and the fingernail test doesn't work for all of them, but it does work for the most common types. To do this, you just touch your fingernail against the mirror. Wow, this mirror is really dirty. That's kind of embarrassing. Standard mirrors normally have a reflective coating on the back side of the glass so that when you touch it, you can normally see a small gap between your fingernail and the reflection of your fingernail. On the other hand, many two-way mirrors have the reflective coating on the front side of the glass so that when you touch it with your fingernail, it looks like the reflection is touching the mirror and there's no gap in between your fingernail and the glass. Now this test doesn't catch them all, so another thing that you can do is use your flashlight and put it right up to the glass and kind of see if you can kind of see the light passing through the glass to something on the other side. This works even better if you have like a laser pointer or something. If you want me to actually buy some two-way mirrors and do all these tests to show you exactly what they look like in real life, just comment two-way mirror below. If your hidden camera is not connected to Wi-Fi and it doesn't have its night vision mode on, they can be very hard to detect. And as you can imagine, scanning an entire Airbnb with your phone can be tedious and time-consuming. So to drastically speed up the process, it's important to know some small clues to look out for. For an easy 5-minute scan that you can do with no special equipment whenever you check into an Airbnb or a hotel, watch this video next. I'll show you exactly how to do it in a real Airbnb, step by step. Like, subscribe, do the things, love you, bye-bye.